Roll call, please.
Sword.
Here.
Holman. Here. Calgery.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Hermson. Holbert.
Here.
Ibrahim.
Here. Okay, next item up is the opportunity for community comments. This item is reserved to receive comments from the community for concerns whether or not they're on the current agenda. The community is encouraged to speak before the mayor and city council, asked to keep statements brief, time limited to no more than 3 minutes. Any questions are to be asked to the city staff, council members, or the mayor prior to speaking to the full council, so concerns can be properly researched and answered away from the meeting. Comments are to be directed to the mayor and city council only. For those who want to make their comment, there's a yellow slip that needs to be provided prior to the meeting, and then the mayor calls your name to bring you forward to the podium. And to ensure a productive meeting and that all voices be heard, we ask that any side conversations be kept to a minimum. Thank you for helping us maintain a quiet atmosphere so everyone in the meeting can follow the discussion. We have one slip tonight from Tony Irwin.
Thank you for letting me come up here and talk to you. I want to introduce myself to you. My name is Tony Irwin, and I'm going to be running for Mahasset County Board of Supervisors. I just wanted to see my ugly mugs. If you see my time, you know who I am. So, thank you again for allowing me to stay there.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is the swearing in of a couple of our police officers. Gage Van Gorp, would you please step forward? And face the camera.
Where's the camera?
So, Officer Gage Van Gorp, he was raised in New Sharon, Iowa, and graduated from North Mahasset High School. He then worked in HVAC and plumbing before joining the Oskaloosa Police Department in 2022. Officer Van Gorp has worked with the Oskaloosa Police Department for 2 years and attended the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy in 2022 to become certified. He then worked part-time at the New Sharon Police Department for 2 years before coming back to Oskaloosa. Officer Van Gorp is married, has 3 children. 4. Now 4. And in his free time, he enjoys working out, hunting, fishing, and spending time with his family. So for the swearing in, Officer Van Gorp, please face me and raise your right hand. I, Gage Van Gorp, do solemnly swear.
I, Gage Van Gorp, do solemnly swear
that I will support and comply with
that I will support and comply with
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Iowa,
the Constitution and laws of Iowa,
the charter laws and ordinances of the city of Oskaloosa,
the charter laws and ordinances of the city of Oskaloosa,
the rules and regulations of the Oskaloosa Police Department,
the rules and regulations of the Oskaloosa Police Department,
the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics,
the law enforcement code of ethics,
and I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of my position as police officer to the best of my ability.
as a police officer to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. You need the signature now?
Yes, please.
Right up there.
Congratulations.
Okay. Officer Dean Jones, please step forward. Officer Jones was born and raised in Oskaloosa and graduated from Oskaloosa High School. Shortly after, he began his bachelor's degree at the Iowa Central Community College and graduated from William Penn University with a Bachelor of Arts in May of 2019. Jones was employed at the Enterprise Rent-A-Car in Pelham, where he worked as branch manager for 5 years before being hired by the Oskaloosa Police Department. Jones enjoys spending his free time with friends and family, smoking weed, and being at the gym. Jones is beyond excited, yep, he is, to start his career with the Oskaloosa Police Department and help the community.
All right.
Jones, please raise your right hand. I, Dane Jones, do solemnly swear
I, Dane Jones, do solemnly swear
that I will support and comply with
that I will support and comply with
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Iowa, the charter laws and ordinances of the city of Oskaloosa,
the charter laws and ordinances within the city of Oskaloosa,
the rules and regulations of the Oskaloosa Police Department,
the rules and regulations of the Oskaloosa Police Department,
the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics,
the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics,
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of my position
discharge the duties of my position
as police officer to the best of my ability.
as police officer to the best of my ability.
Welcome aboard. Okay, next up is a lengthy proclamation for proclaiming April 20th, 2026 as Canine Duke Day. This proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Canine Duke faithfully served the city of Oskaloosa and its residents as a dedicated member of the Oskaloosa Police Department from June 2018 through April 2026, and whereas under the leadership and partnership of Sergeant Austin Rogers, Canine Duke exemplified professionalism, loyalty, and unwavering commitment to public safety through his distinguished career. And whereas during his years of service, Canine Duke was instrumental in 285 arrests, resulting in 697 criminal charges, including numerous felony, aggravated, and serious misdemeanor offenses, significantly contributing to the safety and well-being of the community. And whereas Canine Duke played a critical role in narcotics enforcement, assisting in 132 drug-related arrests and the seizure of illegal substances, helping to combat drug activity and protect the citizens of Oskaloosa. And whereas Canine Duke's presence and deployment helped deter dangerous situations, preventing suspects from fleeing or engaging in violence, thereby enhancing officer safety and reducing risk to the public. And whereas Canine Duke was directly involved in suspect apprehensions, tracking operations, and high-risk incidents, including assisting in multi-agency investigations and searches that led to the safe capture of individuals who posed a threat to the community. And whereas Canine Duke participated in approximately 20 tracking operations and numerous deployments demonstrating exceptional skill, discipline, and reliability in the field. And whereas beyond law enforcement duties, Canine Duke served as a valued community ambassador, participating in numerous demonstrations, school visits, public events, strengthening relationship between the police department and the community. And whereas Canine Duke maintained the highest standards of training and certification, completing over 1,500 hours of training and earning multiple awards in regional and national competitions, reflecting excellence in both patrol and narcotics detection. And whereas Canine Duke's service extended beyond local jurisdiction through mutual aid to numerous law enforcement agencies, further demonstrating his importance as a regional asset. And whereas the city of Oskaloosa recognizes the extraordinary service, dedication, and impact of Canine Duke, whose contributions have made a lasting difference in the safety and quality of life for all residents, now therefore be it proclaimed that the mayor and city council of the city of Oskaloosa, Iowa, do hereby designate April 2026 as Canine Duke Day. Congratulations to him. Next is another proclamation. This one regarding... This was regarding proclamation of Arbor Day in Oskaloosa for April 24th. And the proclamation reads, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Whereas Arbor Day is now observed and throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, now therefore I, Mayor Dave Kreutzfeldt, hereby proclaim Friday, April 24th, 2026, as Arbor Day in the city of Oskaloosa, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and support efforts to protect our tree and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. It'll be signed this 20th day of April 2026. And I understand we have someone here for a photo as well.
Come on up.
Walking. Sean, did you walk him in?
I'm free to go.
Oh, no. Here we go. Okay, moving on to item 8. This is the consideration of the consent agenda as presented or amended. These are all items that are routine in nature. They're voted upon with a single motion. I did want to draw attention to item I, which is a resolution setting a public hearing. This is on May 18th of 26 for levying a special assessment for nuisance abatement at 614 A Avenue East in accordance with Oskaloosa Code 8.08.080. And also item J, just drawing the attention to that this is an ordinance that regards Chapter 17.04, 0.05, and 0.06 having to do with zoning and district regulations. The council may remember this is accessory dwelling units, residential accessory structures, and limiting the number of chickens on a property to 12. We have a motion of support.
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Almond. Calgery.
Yes.
Drost.
Yes.
Holmberg.
Yes.
Ibrahim.
Yes.
Sword.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item 10 is the announcement of vacancies. On our airport commission, we have one vacancy for a term ending in December of 2028. Our Building Code Board of Appeals has a vacancy for an ex officio member. The Civil Service Commission has one vacancy for a term ending in March of 2029. Planning and Zoning Commission has a vacancy for a term ending April of 2027 and one vacancy for a term ending in April of 2030. Also, our newly formed Arts and Culture Commission, 9 vacancies, 3 of them for a term ending December 31st of 2026, 3 for a term ending December 31st of 2027, and 3 for a term ending in December 31st of 2028. Moving on into the regular agenda. First up is to consider a resolution approving an agreement with the Union Pacific Railroad for a public highway at-grade crossing on South 31st Street. this is a carryover from the prior city council meeting. We've received a proposed agreement with Union Pacific for improvements to the public highway at grade crossing on South 31st Street. The improvements are necessary for completion of the southeast corridor, and the UP, Union Pacific, has requested payments for completion of the project. There's a one-time amount of $2,000 to grant rights to perform it, another payment of $1,016,000 for them to perform the construction on the project, and then also an unspecified payment for flagging and traffic control. But in addition to that, they also need to have annual payments after 3 years, so 3 years from now, that total up to about $16,400, and that'd be every year thereafter, and that has to do for signal maintenance and surface maintenance fees. And so the original concept for the Southeast Connector intended to use the crossing as it exists today, but then as the project developed, so did also the need to change that railroad crossing. So, as I said, the reason we're here is because we had a tie vote last time, with 3 people voting in favor and 3 people voting against. And so at this point, I guess I've got Andy McGuire. You're here. Would you like to offer any additional information to the council regarding this?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity, and thanks to City Council for allowing me the opportunity to speak on the topic as well. And before I stop giving out thanks, I want to thank Sean Murphy and Sean Metcalf also for providing my comments that I shared with them via email as far as the history goes on how we got to where we are currently. Our goal initially was to try and utilize the existing crossing as much as we could. The geometry lent itself well to that. Unfortunately, in dealing with the crossing on Highway 23 with the railroad, led us into conversations on South 31st Street as well. And we quickly realized after we did the traffic impact study that we needed to perform some safety upgrades for the future, which is included in the layouts that were provided to you as well. The good news is that the work that would be completed currently is RISE eligible, so 65% of project costs could be captured currently with the work that needs to be done there to set us up for the future. The remaining balance, 35%, would be subject to the sharing arrangement that we have, the city and the county have currently. And also, unfortunately, the maintenance costs that the mayor provided to you are not RISE eligible, so that $16,000 in round number is not a RISE eligible expense. That's a maintenance cost, and maintenance costs aren't typically eligible for RISE. There's a theme tonight of swearing in. I would say that dealing with the railroad, there might have been a lot of swearing, but not in, at least not vocally. But it is a process that is pretty common for those of us in the transportation sector to deal with the railroads and come to agreements like this. And what I've seen in the agreement is consistent with what I'm familiar with in other agreements. And I've been communicating with DOT, my counterparts in the county engineering community, elected officials both at the local level, state level, and federal level. And I've even appealed to a higher power to try and get some relief to this, and I'm still waiting on that prayer to be answered. I'm confident at some point we will make some progress, and we can work more, what I would call equally or equitably between the entities, the public sector clients, and then also the railroad to move our goods and services. But I think it's a great opportunity, and I really appreciate staff's recommendation to approve this agreement, and I humbly and respectfully agree with that recommendation to move forward with this agreement. So I'm here as a resource. If you all have any questions, I'm happy to walk through the history on how we got to where we are, or provide some insight as far as the agreement, to the best of my ability, as far as where that comes from. So appreciate the opportunity.
Council?
Take the opportunity.
I was, I know it was with the information that we were provided for this tonight's meeting. But I gathered in reading that, and I don't think that I was aware of it, or if I was, I missed it. But without this work, my understanding is that would jeopardize a third phase of this project. Did I read that correctly?
Right, yeah. I wouldn't say jeopardize the next phase as far as where we're going to go from where the Southeast Connector project leaves off up to Highway 92. what I've been informed of since the first time the City Council considered this was that our application for community project funds through the office of Congresswoman Miller Meeks has been advanced to the committee level at the federal level for funding of the next phase, which includes the engineering work, right-of-way acquisition, basic project development work for where we leave off up to Highway 92. That's a standalone project. This project doesn't necessarily affect that work specifically. Should the council not move forward with approving this agreement, there may be some implications through DOT with the RISE grant specifically, because the RISE grant agreement is written based on the application that was submitted for RISE grant, and part of the RISE grant application included railroad crossing upgrades at South 31st Street. So there may be some implications as far as, I don't want to use the word default, because I think that's too aggressive at this point to understand the scope. But before council would say vote down, it would be my recommendation to find out a little bit more about what those implications would be as far as the RISE grant piece goes. Also, from the engineering standpoint, as I'm the most qualified to speak on that topic as the county engineer, I would share just some concerns regarding safety with the crossing. The proposed improvements include signals and mast arms and things to prohibit traffic from sitting on the crossing. And that's a real concern of mine as the area continues to grow and as we make that connection to Highway 92. I think that the concerns exist today, but in a much less front-facing capacity, and that traffic does use South 31st Street. But if this becomes the primary connection to the next road, that would be a concern of mine.
Yeah, sorry I wasn't here at the last meeting. When we initiated this, the South Connector, there was no talk about the tracks at all at that time. But when we started talking about the east bypass, there was like 3 different proposals on which way they're going to go. But so this here, I'm looking at a PDF in our attachment here. But so once the rail, all that is taken care of, that will connect to the planned east bypass, the road itself.
Yeah, so maybe a point of clarification. In the original RISE grant application, there were provisions for upgrades to the crossing. And basically that was to widen out just the surface width so you get across
right.
it. The discussions from when we applied for the RISE grant to today have grown to include the signals, the crossbars, the pavement markings, the lane configuration, and some of the traffic control devices. So that is where the scope has maybe expanded around those features, those safety features specifically. To answer your question, yes, this segment under the current mode's preferred alignment would connect over to Osborne Avenue.
Right.
And then tie up to Highway 92.
Right.
I think one of the main hesitations were around the maintenance contracts for the signals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that was a question. I thought we were going to go back to see if there anything that they can do with those, because
Right.
they see, but
And I've had some conversations with the railroad. Their approach is basically that they have no advantage to having this crossing at all. They could not have a crossing here, and it would be beneficial for them to not having a crossing. That would be the most beneficial configuration. So if we're going to have a crossing, then they're responsible for working with the Federal Railroad Administration in order to, and then
and
they
those
have
are just regular contracted rates then for the, or how are those negotiated?
I don't know that they're negotiated as much as they have a rate structure that they've
Okay.
calculated in terms of what they use for all this. There's no, I couldn't point to you and say they're gonna spend X dollars on maintenance every year. I can tell you that they have to do regular reporting to the Railroad Administration to prove that their signals are still working. And presumably then that cost goes into their responsibility to keep those up. And if the FRA says that they're not meeting that, then they would have to pay to to upgrade them to whatever meets it, just presumably using what we've paid to them as a part of that.
And I may add to that, Sean. For research as far as the costing goes, if you look through the estimates, there's a term called units, and they assign a dollar value to the unit. And those are standardized units based on the American Railway Engineering and Maintenance of Way Association. So we have an association that generates industry standard rates, and they apply those, and that was their basis of justification for those numbers. If you would, it's maybe somewhat similar to some of the franchise fees or some of the costs that come from Mid-American, like when we had to do utility relocation. There are some standardized rates that they apply to those for justification. So they say, yeah, this is where it came from and this is why. It doesn't mean that I agree with it or I like it.
Right.
But at least they have some background that they fall to say this is the reasoning why, instead of just, hey, here's the number that we're going to give you.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like there's any wiggle room there, right, for cities.
This isn't a question, and I'm familiar with the area, being here, but not familiar with the use of the tracks. Is there much usage on that track?
Yeah, not currently, no. As far as the unit trains go, we've had that conversation with the railroad as far as, hey, can we get some relief here on some of the upgrades, on some of the costs, the carrying costs? It's a fine line to walk because we do have the interest on the chamber parcel and the transload facility that we've been studying, and we want to, right, I shouldn't say it that way, I apologize for that, but the interest might be to develop that area, and you would want to have these improvements in place before that area develops. And similarly to the certified site, we have a 500-acre certified industrial site, and this is an area to get in front of that development before we have a problem.
And I guess for me, just speaking out loud, putting that kind of money into something that's not used very much is hard for me to.
I think the only time I've seen a car go down them track was to the Wood Place, which is more north of this area.
Andy, can you speak to the volume of, I mean, we just talked about the rail traffic, but what about the use of that